Between the two of them. The inside of Coates. Parker gets too heavily involved. And that's Whitehead and Coates. Between the two of them. The inside of Coates. Barker gets too heavily involved. And that's Whitehead and Coates.
Name.
All right, quality's live.
Right. Yep. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome along to the VRRC, where we are about to go into our final two races in the latest Touring Car Championship. It's been a fantastic season. It all comes down now to the final night of racing, and with a whole host of drivers still mathematically in contention for the title, it is set to be a real nail biter. It's myself, Andy McEwan, to be joined momentarily by Jack Oliphant to talk through all of the action. And tonight, the action comes your way from the Hockenheim ring as we head to Germany for the next round of the championship, the final round of the championship. And it is certainly going to be an exciting night of racing, that is for sure. this is a circuit that I think will produce some very dramatic racing, and that's exactly what we've come to expect actually over the course of the season so far, as we visited some of the great racetracks around Europe, this European tour for the VRRC's Touring Car Championship. And as we head into the final round, we wait to see what this kind of track will produce. But it's a fast circuit, it's a wide open circuit, lots of big braking zones as well, that should produce plenty of excitement. Well, last time out, we were racing as per usual twice over the course of the evening, and we were racing on that occasion at Donington. It was a visit back to the United Kingdom, if you like, for the championship, which was certainly welcomed by some of the drivers, I think, who were a tad unfamiliar with the racetracks that we had been racing at, and it was certainly a pair of exciting races that we saw with in the end, a bit of a mix-up in the championship, mainly because championship leader and season-long championship leader Jack Smith was absent, sadly, from those two races. He was away on holiday. He's back tonight, but didn't score any points, and that became his second consecutive sort of dropped score of the season. Remember, the drivers dropped their two lowest scoring rounds. He had a bad time of it, really, at the previous round at Zandvoort, and then it went once again not too well for him because he didn't race last time out at Donington Park. In the meantime, some of his big rivals have scored pretty well over recent rounds. Kyle Felvis, in particular, was the highest scorer last time at Donington Park. 4 points more scored for the HFT racing driver than anybody else over the course of the two races, and that meant that he moved up into fourth place in the championship. Once those drop scores are all calculated, Joel Lask scored pretty well as well. He will be fifth in the points coming into this particular round, whilst Andy Dorman was also a good scorer. Now, Andy, I haven't worked out yet whether he is mathematically in contention for the title, but even so, was very happy, I'm sure, with the results that he got. Nicky Taylor, meanwhile, the fourth highest scoring driver, and Jordan Taylor, the fifth. So they were your top scorers across the two races last time out at Donington Park. Nowhere on that list, though, are Oliver Gibson or Elliot Dalton-Ayres, and they're actually the two nearest rivals on points to Jack Smith once those drop scores are calculated. So it wasn't actually a drop score for either of them. It was a solid, if unspectacular, night of racing for those two. And Oliver Gibson and Elliot Dalton-Ayres therefore arrive here tied for second place in the points. They are 20 points behind Jack Smith. Been doing some rough calculations, which we'll get into in a moment, as to exactly what Jack needs to do to try and wrap the title up tonight. But certainly those two have managed to close the gap considerably. Felvis fourth now, ahead of Joel Lask, and Nicky Taylor joined fifth. And look how tight it is from second back to essentially sixth in the championship, just 3 points between them. That's significant because you take prizes at the end of the season for finishing anywhere inside the top five. Then it's Jordan Taylor, Andy Dorman, Andy Carroll, and Josh Martin, the luckless Josh Martin, who concludes the top 10 in the championship standings. So that is how the championship looks. I believe I am now joined by Jack Oliphant, and well,
it has indeed.
It is
yes,
rather
quite
finely
nice
poised, isn't it, heading into this final round. Jack Smith, the timing of his holiday has breathed some real life into the championship.
It's going to be exciting for that second place. So we can actually go into qualifying and see how they're getting on. And in fact, there they are. Here's Nicky Taylor, who's currently on pole position. Nope, just been proven wrong by Joel Lask. I do apologise about a few of the hold-ups that we've had in today's broadcast. Hopefully they'll be ironed out now and be able to crack on. So, Andy, yeah, Joel Lask going well. Nicky Taylor not too bad, but a lot of the drivers pretty much just getting in their first flying laps.
Indeed so, which gives us a bit of time to talk about the points permutations, which is something that I really do enjoy when we get towards the end of a season, even if it is a bit headache-inducing at times. But by my maths, and Jack, my maths are famously shoddy, but I reckon that Jack Smith needs to score Lask and Taylor score tonight. Now, 38 points doesn't sound like a lot, but actually that's basically 2 podiums required to guarantee the title, or a couple of top 5s with some fastest laps. So the pressure is on a bit here for Jack Smith. He doesn't need a spectacular night to win the championship, but he certainly can't afford too much bad luck.
No, he's going to have to be hot on it. He's, it's consistent. But we all know that Jack Smith is that kind of driver, though, isn't he? He can turn it on when he wants. He's very consistent. He very rarely gets flustered. I don't think I've ever put the Zoom meeting on him, like the picture-in-picture webcam, and him be flustered. I think maybe I've seen a reaction out of him once, and that was about it, sort of thing. So, yeah, I think he's going to be well up for this, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he reacts to obviously having a week off, and see if, he needs to get back into the swing of things at all.
Oh, it's funny, a week away from racing isn't a long stretch of time by anyone's imagination, but it's funny with sim racing, it can sometimes lead to a bit of race rustiness, just because, the sim racers, good sim racers, people like Jack Smith, they're on the sim every single day. They put hours in, hours of practice every single day, and to suddenly lose that through being off for a week or more, that can sometimes disrupt your rhythm a little bit. We'll wait and see if that happens. At the moment, Jack is only 5th place, but then he's also only 0.4 of a second away from pole position, because Jack, that has been one of the big stories all season long, hasn't it? The closeness, the competitiveness of these qualifying sessions. A 1:43.0 at the moment is the fastest time in the session. Elliot Daltonaire's down in 8th, is only 0.4 off that time.
He is indeed, yeah, here is Elliot Daltonaire's. In fact, the top 3 all with a 1:43.0. And then 1:43.3 for Carl Felvers. And as he said, only a couple of tenths, well, 4/10 in it, but down to Elliot Daltonaire, who we're currently watching now, getting a little bit of a slipstream and actually missing the apex quite badly, unfortunately, for him. But I'm looking forward to seeing how close these drivers are. It's unlike Donington, it's not a circuit where they've been to thousands of times before. But it is a track that is quite well known in the motorsport world, and sim sports tend to go over there as well. Esports tend to sort of use Hockenheim. It's quite a flowy track, lots of momentum, but also some really good overtaking opportunities, which I'm looking forward to seeing quite a few people utilise. And I think the likes of Josh Martin are certainly going to have to try and utilise it to their advantage, because currently, again, well, inside the top 10 actually for Josh Martin, just something that's slightly unusual for us this season, because normally he hasn't had that good a qualifying.
Yeah, qualifying has been his Achilles heel this season, hasn't it, rather, Josh Martin? But he's had flashes of brilliance throughout the course of the season. And, he will hopefully be able to find some of those either through the rest of the qualifying session, of which there is 6 minutes left, or during the races a little bit later on. Elliot Daltonaire is here diving for the pit lane for some new boots, so too Nicky Taylor. So we focus instead on Kyle Felvers. He's not improving on this lap, though. I suspect it might be an in-lap, or possibly an out-lap. I think it's an in-lap, probably. Because this doesn't look like being a terribly quick lap. Well, no, he's going to complete the lap, but not improving in either of the 2 first sectors on this particular lap. But Kyle Felvers very much in championship contention. He sits there 4th in the points, but not a huge amount away from the top. He is 4th quickest right now, and crucially ahead of Jack Smith. Now remember, points available not just for the races, Jack, but also in qualifying. A single solitary championship point will go to the pole sitter at the end of this qualifying session, and it may only be 1 point, but given how tight it is, that could be significant.
Every little helps, doesn't it? And we know that when we go down to finales here at VRRC, people are absolutely clutching and biting at the bit to try and get those last points, the fastest laps, because of course fastest lap counts for 3 points, I do believe. That was a rule that got introduced a while ago. That's going to be really important, but obviously the pole position as well. And when it is this close, especially Nicky Taylor and Andy Dorman, they're going to be thinking, I've got a good chance of getting that 1 extra point. They'll be absolutely, as I said, biting at the bit to try and get it.
Yeah, exactly. There are 57 points available tonight. 25 points for winning a race, of which there are 2. 3 bonus points then for setting a fastest lap in either of those races. That's an extra 6. And then the bonus point for pole position. So all of a sudden, that 38 points that Jack Smith needs to score to guarantee the championship suddenly starts to look a little bit more difficult. That is, though, reliant on Oliver Gibson or Elliot Daltonaire or Carl Felvers or Joel Lask banging 2 victories over the course of the night. And that's not something that we've seen all that often in recent history at the VRRC, because of just how competitive it is. So that's why perhaps just a couple of top 5 finishes for Jack could be enough. He sits there in 5th position in the standings right now. and hoping to try and improve. Carl Felvers, meanwhile, comes out of the final corner, and he too is looking to improve with a personal best in the middle sector. Is he going to jump up here from 4th place, crosses the timing line, and no, in the end, the lap time not quite as fast as he'd been previously.
No, not for the time being. And as you said, I think a lot of people have been using it as an in period, an in lap, and they're starting to come out there, warm their tyres back up, and with 3.5 minutes left to go, Andy Dorman is the driver we're actually going to go on board with. We did this a little while ago, or last week at Donington, and I'm not sure if you're that familiar with Hockenheim, but as we go through the first corner, Andy, it's certainly a commitment sort of first sector, isn't it?
It is. That first turn in particular, really, really challenging. Got to be careful on track limits on the exit, then hard onto the brakes into turn 2. Good overtaking opportunity, but actually the exit is more important. Turn 3 is easily flat out, and then we head through the Parabolica, which technically is turn 5. The Germans seemingly coming over all American by naming straights corners, which is something that's always baffled me. Anyway, they do then arrive down at the hairpin at turn 6, which is the best overtaking opportunity. A good dose of hybrid down that Parabolica section will certainly give you an opportunity to attack into the hairpin at the end of it. Then again, get a good exit, the run down towards turn 7, which in these cars should just about be flat out, I would have thought. Fling it through the right, but sacrificing that run through there. Look, keeping to the right of the track because you want to then turn sharp left through the Mercedes arena, turn 8, and again, set yourself up then through the left-hand king into turn 9 and 10. And out of that, we head into probably the most famous sequence of corners on the track through the final sort of stadium section. Turn 11, very easy to run too wide into the gravel there, but no such issues for Andy Dorman. Then onto the brakes into the Sachs curve, the hairpin left at turn 12, quite a steeply cambered corner as well, which allows you to carry some good speed. Turns 13 and 14 are flat out, then a difficult over the crest and into the dip braking zone into turn 15. Before turn 16 brings you round to the conclusion of what is a pretty fast and furious lap around Hockenheim. You've got these long straights. You'd think, Jack, that you'd have plenty of chances to catch your breath. But as we saw there from the onboard footage, not really the case.
No, and even when you are hitting that hybrid, going down the straights and everything, you got to be finding your braking zone as well. I mean, obviously in qualifying, they don't have the hybrid luxury, so they don't need to worry about that. But when they actually go into the race, they might even use one. I don't think they can quite fit the second hybrid in, but it's still going to be very, very close. You have to pick your braking zone slightly better. It's going to be very, very entertaining to see who can actually make the moves down there, who's going to be defending. Some outside moves might be going. It reminds me a little bit of Austria's turn 3, Andy, about how you can sort of sling it around the outside potentially if someone's going very, very defensive on the inside line, because it's such a tight turn. Not quite uphill and all that sort of thing, but it's still going to be very, very interesting. And then this last section, I remember the F1 a couple of years ago when the rain started coming down and all the drivers decided they were going to fall off the circuit. It was such an amazing race, and I don't know, we might have that kind of weather warning coming tonight. I haven't seen the forecast, but with Nicky Taylor, he was green in sector 1, not green in sector 2, but he's good enough to jump up by 2.5 tenths of a second up into pole position.
And you saw his reaction. I think he was even slightly surprised with what he was able to achieve there. So Nicky Taylor, again, very much a contender, if nothing else, for second place in the championship, potentially for the championship title itself. Pumped up well and truly after that, and rightly so, because we've just been labouring the point about how close it is out there, and suddenly he manages to go 2 tenths up the road from anyone else. The anyone else led by Joel Lask in second position, Andy Dorman third, Carl Felvers fourth, Jordan Taylor fifth, and Ollie Gibson in sixth. So at the moment, not a complete disaster this for Jack Smith, but he's only 7th fastest, and given how closely bunched Gibson, Dalton Ayres, Felvers, Lask and Taylor are in the championship behind him, he can't just focus on Gibson and Dalton Ayres. Felvers, Lask and Taylor very much a threat for the title as well, and that pole position lap for Nicky Taylor, if he holds on at the front, which I think he will get him 1 point closer to the championship leader.
It will indeed, and as the checkered flag has dropped, we're starting to wait for the last driver to come across the line. Carl Felvers is probably the highest placed driver who's gone green in sector 1, but Oliver Gibson, who we haven't seen in qualifying yet, is also green sector 1 and can do with a massive improvement if he's to have anything to shout about come the end of this particular qualifying session. Joel Lask is in the pits. He has been in the pits for quite some time, and so has Josh Martin. So he's in 9th place. He's going to stay there as Kenny Press, Ilok Iyengar both cross the line. Here comes Oliver Gibson. How is he doing in Sector 2? Not so hot, but Jordan Taylor's gone slightly quicker. Carl Fellis is invalidated his lap, but Nicky Taylor is another driver on a charge. He's gone green in Sector 2. Anybody else gone double green? Not quite yet. Jordan Taylor might be the driver with the answers as he comes through the penultimate corner. Or is that the last corner? No, it was the penultimate corner. Now goes through the last corner, runs a little bit wide. Jack Limits having a bit of an argument with him there, I'd say. But he's going to come across the line. Jordan Taylor does go a bit quicker, but not quick enough to advance himself up any positions. Oliver Gibson across the line. He just takes the checker flag and doesn't get further up either. Nicky Taylor's across the line. Quite a few drivers across the line now, Andy. It doesn't look like there's anybody who's going to be particularly interested in taking that pole away.
No, seemingly not, but an excellent effort that from Nicky Taylor. Like I said, a bonus point for him, and he looks as though he's on for another really good night. He's been strong these last 3 weeks, hasn't he? Had a couple of rough weeks, but when he's been on the pace, he's been pretty tough. Welcome back, everybody, to the VRRC, where qualifying's concluded here at Hockenheim for our final round of the European Touring Car Tour. And we are joined now by our pole sitter, not for the first time in recent memory. It is Nicky Taylor's Honda that will line up on the front of the grid. And Nicky, in what we were saying all along was a typically tight and competitive qualifying session, you managed to pull 2/10 out of the bag. How did you manage it?
To be honest, my times were always there. Like I've been on for about 3 or 4 tenths up in the first corner throughout most of quality, and then I just kept kept screwing the hairpin up, which has been my main problem currently. Like when I'm looking at lap times and stuff in practice and whatever, it's my first and last sectors are completely fine. And my middle sector, I'm losing like 3 tenths out on people that are slower in overall lap time, but quicker in that sector. So. But yeah, I knew it was there, and then yeah, just got the 42.8 because I think it lifted a lot of pressure off my shoulders when I saw Joel parked up with about 6 minutes left. I don't know if he ran out of fuel or what happened there, but that lifted pressure off my shoulders, so I could just focus on my lap. And then yeah, I done a 882 I think, and then an 884 that straight away the lap after. So yeah, I do. As I said last week, I love this track to bits because it suits me to a T. So. I need to score max points with Jack having an unfortunate week to get the championship because I think I can afford to lose 1 point this week to still win it. But yeah, we're just good start and hope we can go on from here.
You say that Hockenheim's a circuit that you really get on with. What is it about this track then that really suits you?
I think it's just because it's a bit technical. Like it's nowhere near as technical as say Zandvoort or somewhere, but it's also got fast corners, which I think suits me. Like it suits how I drive because it's kind of similar to Croft in the fact of there's a few straight corners and it's technical, and Snetterton as well has got straights and technical, and they're the tracks I'm really fast at for some reason, and yeah, it just suits how I drive. And every time we've been coming here with VRRC, I don't think there's been a race where apart from when I've murdered Eric in previous races here, I don't think there's been a race here where on genuine pace I've been off pace here. So I think this is one of them tracks for me that I like coming to. And when I saw the championship get revealed 8 weeks ago, I knew the last few rounds played into my strengths. So this should hopefully go quite well for me.
Fingers crossed. I'm sure you've got a lot of preparation to do before the race, so I'll let you go and do that. But Nicky, well done on the pole position. 1 point closer now to the championship lead, and you never know. We've seen some big turnarounds in the last round, so very best of luck with it all.
Yeah, I'll be happy with top 3, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I think Jack's cleared off. But yeah, anyway, thank you.
Well, there we go. Some positivity from Nicky Taylor, clearly believing that his championship hopes are well and truly alive. They are, though, Jack. They are alive. I've done the maths. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty confident I'm not. And honestly, it doesn't take much of a slip tonight for Jack Smith to suddenly be under a lot of pressure in the championship. So Nicky needs to keep that pressure on, as do the other frontrunners in the points, to make sure that Jack doesn't have
yes,
it
there
too
is. He's talking about
easy.
slipping. Well,
right then, a few minutes to go before the first race might get some away. Jack, and a few things to let our viewers know about.
This weekend, obviously, like on Sunday in Citroen DS3s, and there's going to be a bit of a French theme going on. So if you want to join in with the fun race, it's at 8 p.m. to carry on the French theme. In the time attack, we are in the we're around Le Mans Bugatti. In a Renault. There's cash prizes, Renault 5 Turbo, one of the most popular hatchbacks ever made, and it's a fantastic little machine. And by all means, jump on. You can do the time attack. That'll run from 2 weeks, and it only started the other day. We've also got, can you tell I've been told to do this quickly? We've got Le Mans in a couple of weeks, so not next Wednesday, but the one after that, a 90-minute endurance race. You've heard me talk about it plenty of times. Some great prizes up for grabs. Multi-class, 90-minute race. It should be absolutely epic. Now, the one that I've been told to actually talk about. The Porsche Cayman Cup. Right, if you haven't been keeping up for our next championship, it's the Porsche and the Clios. But the Porsche Cayman Cup, a fantastic championship. Going to be live broadcast, hopefully starting at 7:45. Going to be slightly later than usual for the broadcast. That's because everything's been put back by 15 minutes. We'll explain why in a minute. But that is going to be awesome. That is our next mainline championship. Championship, basically. That's going to be broadcast live. And there's going to be plenty of prizes on offer as well. Some great prizes. The Cammus Simulation rim and pedals, and a first place trophy obviously as well. We've got some rigs, seats. We've got the Mecha Cup gear shifter / handbrake. That is awesome. We use it on the sim rigs whenever we go to one of these sort of big events that we do at the NEC and stuff like that. And honestly, everybody loves it, and I love driving with it. It's awesome. As well as 4th and 5th place from Apparel, and obviously a hat to go with it. Now, I said that we were starting 15 minutes later for the main championship. That is because, of course, we are doing the Renault Clio Cup. Now, that starts at 6:30, so slightly earlier. We run both races before we end up going to the Cayman Cup Championship. And at the moment, if we get enough entries, we're going to go live broadcasting this as well. If we don't get enough entries, then we'll do some kind of broadcast. It may not be the full kit and caboodle like we're doing today, but it'll still be pretty epic, I'm sure. So that's for drivers who are maybe looking to compete in the main championship, but maybe haven't had the experience just yet. They're wanting to take that step up from the fun races up into the Caymans, and the Renault Clio Cup is a fantastic place to start. And of course, we have got prizes for it as well, because it's a paid championship. We have plenty of prizes. We've also got, along with all the VRRC kitted up things, we've got the PMR, the Power Max valeting kits that Rich has managed to find some from previous championships long ago. So plenty of opportunities for everybody to win prizes, get some good racing in, and Wednesday nights are going to be jam-packed. Right, Andy, I think that's about it. I think we can go racing.
Excellently done, Jack, and in perfect timing. Look at that. The red lights come on. We're ready to go racing here at Hockenheim, and we're almost ready to crown a champion. Off they go then, down towards the first corner. Nicky Taylor starting on the right, and on the left, Joel Lask in the Hyundai, and it's Taylor who will have the advantage heading into the first corner, and the Honda driver will lead them through turn one. Aggressive stuff further back. That's Carl Felbers, I think, isn't it, up the inside line, barging Andy Dorman out of the way as he now tries to make some progress up into third place, using the hybrid to complete the pass. There was Kyle, but that was an important move for the youngster to make. He knows that he needs to try and get away with the race leaders. Nothing other than race wins will do for the likes of Taylor, Lask and Felbers, and they've made some good early progress already. Jack Smith, the points leader, is 7th, so more or less where he started, but Jack, he's under threat as they head for the hairpin.
Yeah, I think everybody's under threat as they go into the hairpin. We're actually looking at Elliot Dalton as he's trying to lunge both BMWs. It's going to be ambitious. It's not going to work either. He managed to hold on to the brakes just long enough so he didn't rear end half of them. And everybody managed to just about get through unscathed, which I'm quite impressed with there, Andy. Jordan Taylor managed to get through, and I just saw that actually Oliver Gibson and Jack Smith aren't done battling between the brothers. It's going to be a bit of a spat, a family feud, you could argue here, as Gibson up the inside, but Smith carrying that momentum round as Elliot Dalton airs. Just about rear ends. We've had some rear end drama involving a BMW, but it's unfortunately A-Lock Iyengar.
Yes, it is, and Abrinosa, I think, was involved as well in that, but fascinating battle there between Smith, Gibson and Dalton Ayres. They're the top 3 in the points, remember, absolutely together, but right now losing a chunk of points to Lask, Felbers, and Felbers, Lask and Taylor, who are in the top 3 positions right now. So Jack Smith 6th, there is Dalton Ayres down in 8th position with Josh Martin and Andy Carroll in behind. And, well, intense stuff, as always, here in the early stages, particularly for the championship leader, who needs a clean pair of races. Across the line, we will go then, and it is Nicky Taylor who leads the race. Joel Lask in 2nd place, Carl Felbers 3rd, Jordan Taylor going with him in 4th position, while trying to, but he's under threat now from Andy Dorman as they begin the 2nd lap.
Yeah, Andy Dorman trying to put the hammer down. He's looking at Elliot Dalton Ayres jumping out, getting into that braking zone. I think he was using the hybrid leading up to that one, and you can see a nice little move there. That'll hurt Oliver Gibson. He won't be enjoying that one bit as Jack Smith now puts another car in between. Well, Jack Smith didn't really do anything about it, but he's looking to put a car in between himself and Elliot Dalton Ayres here, because he's attacking Andy Dorman, the driver who did so well in qualifying. Seems to be slipping backwards. He's fallen behind Kyle Felbers, fallen behind Jordan Taylor, and he might be falling behind the BMW as well. That's a big lunge, though, from Jack Smith. He's missed the braking zone, and here comes Dalton Ayres.
Yes, he does. We've had a change of lead as well, but this is the championship leader really getting his elbows out now. Andy Dorman is back alongside him as we head towards the Mercedes arena, and the BMW man could be under threat from 2 cars. No, sweeps past Dorman, just leaves the Ford driver enough space and manages to creep through. Dorman now left to battle with Dalton Ayres, who hangs it tough around the outside, will try and carry the momentum down towards the final complex of corners, which he does indeed. Oliver Gibson now joins in the battle as well, but he gets squeezed out, and Andy Dorman will hang on to 6th place. But I mentioned a lead change. It is Joel Lask now to the front. He has found a way past Nicky Taylor, and that is big for the championship. Joel Lask, remember, was actually fractionally ahead of Nicky Taylor. In fact, they were tied after the drops coming into the night, and Joel Lask has managed to squeeze through into the lead.
He has indeed, yeah. There is Nicky Taylor looking unusually calm, I would say, for Nicky's standards. Normally he's a hunched shoulders, attacking over the wheels sort of driver, but he seems to have relaxed himself somewhat, and maybe he's going to try and pick himself up as Carl Felbers, I think, just set one of the fastest laps of the race in 3rd position, trying his best to charge through the order and get himself into this fight for the lead, because Joel Lask has done particularly well, but it is going to be Nicky Taylor who's the one initially hunting down, as Oliver Gibson has managed to find his way through on Andy Dorman. They're side by side.
Well, yes, they are. Meanwhile, Taylor, I think, was making a run for the lead, but hasn't been able to close in. So, yes, we'll focus on this then, down towards the hairpin. Gibson on the inside, but Dorman is going to hang on just about. And the Ford man then stays in 7th place. Can Gibson outbrake him? No, chops to the outside instead. This is frustration for Oliver Gibson, who's had really strong pace these last couple of weeks, but when it really matters, he just can't move forwards.
No, he can't at the moment. It's difficult for me to see right now, but I think he's not quite had the kit behind him. But here is Elliot Dalton Ayres against Jack Smith, who again is having a few headaches, I fear, this evening. He said he needs podiums, Andy, to secure this championship under his own steam. He may be relying on other people here.
Well, but this is the thing. Lask, Taylor and Felvers being in the top 3, this is the kind of situation where he does really need to be up on the podium, and he isn't. He's 5th place. He's got Elliot Dalton-Ayres behind him. In fact, he's got Elliot Dalton-Ayres up the inside into the hairpin at the Sachs curve. Is that going to work, though? It's a cambered corner, so momentum can work around the outside, but I don't think it has. Dalton-Ayres trying to lever aside the points leader, who looks as calm and cool as ever, as he tries to leave the Hyundai driver enough room. Good driving that from both drivers to keep it clean, and for Jack Smith to hold on round the outside, but he's slow off the final corner, and Dalton-Ayres is going to try an impossible move, surely round the outside at turn 1. That's never going to work in a month of Sundays, but it does. Dalton-Ayres goes through, he runs wide, chops back onto the track, and moves ahead of Jack Smith.
Yeah, a little shake of the head there by Jack Smith. I don't think it was actually Elliot Dalton-Ayres' move particularly. I don't think he thought it was unfair. I think he was cursing himself silently in the background, but yeah, it's the most reacted we've seen. Biggest reaction, sorry, we've seen from Jack Smith, isn't it, really? It's very unusual we see anything from him, but right now he's looking a little bit pressured with Andy Dorman now chasing him behind. If we're looking at hybrids, everybody's pretty much got exactly the same, about 10 or 11 with Nicky Taylor on 9. Nobody's churned through them massively, no one's conserving them. Oh, Jack Smith, he's been turned round! Jack Smith's been turned round by Andy Dorman, and there we go. That's the biggest reaction we've seen from Jack Smith. He's not exactly throwing his hands about or anything like that, but that's going to be absolutely massive, Andy, when it comes to the championship as he makes contact with Alok Iyengar.
Oh my word, how many times have we seen this happen through the years with the VRRC championship leaders who just need to get it over the line in the final round, suddenly finding drama, and that's exactly what has happened to our points leader Jack Smith. Now remember, 2 dropped scores. One of those is a 0. That was his missed round from a week ago. The other dropped score was the 30 points that he scored at Zandvoort the week before. So as long as he beats 30 points, then this will not become a dropped score, and we won't know really until we get deep into the second race whether that's likely to happen. But my word, Jack, you couldn't script that, could you? His big championship rivals are running 1st, 2nd and 3rd in the race, and suddenly Jack Smith is 13th, and you have to assume carrying some damage.
Yeah, speaking of their championship rivals, let's have a look at Joel Lask and Nicky Taylor and Kyle Felvers and how they're getting on. Well, they've spaced themselves out quite a lot. In fact, the whole field has really spaced themselves out, Andy, haven't they? If you look at the left-hand side, the timing tower, we're talking at least 8/10 of a second, 9/10 of a second between each driver. The closest battle we have on circuit is Paul Laramie versus Andy Carroll between 9th and 8th place. But we've got to focus somewhat on the talk of the town, which is going to be these top 3. Surely now, Andy, you may well, if you're driving out there, you may well have seen or you may well have heard that Jack Smith has been turned around. You are throwing everything at this now, aren't you? You're throwing everything at the wall, see what will stick. And hopefully, you may see a mistake from the driver in front of you. If you're Joel Lask, that's an enormous amount of pressure.
It is, but then Joel is one of those drivers who soaks up the pressure really well because he doesn't really get too worked up. He doesn't really start, making mistakes under pressure and getting a bit carried away. He doesn't strike me as the kind of driver to, think too much. And I mean, that sounds like an insult, you know what I mean? He just concentrates on driving, not doing the maths, not worrying about the championship. He's just results focused, and ultimately, if you're scoring good points, the championship might well fall into your lap. So that might well play into his hands. Whereas people like Nicky Taylor and Kyle, you could argue, maybe the moment might start getting to them. The pressure of the situation might drive them into overdriving a touch. So I don't know. It's just a hunch, but I think Joel Lask is absolutely the right man for the job to be in the situation that he finds himself in.
Yeah, I think if they were playing football, you'd say they play with their heart on their sleeve, quite a number of these drivers, wouldn't you? It's a common sort of thought when it comes to the top drivers. They have an ability to ignore it all and just get the job done. It's like Formula 1 drivers, they very rarely sound panicked, and when they do, it's a bit like an old when Max Verstappen was a lot younger and he was getting emotional about everything that would happen to him, whether it's his fault or not, or whether it's out of his control or not. And now he becomes a lot calmer. Sebastian Vettel is another driver that comes to mind when it came to sort of very emotional in his early days, and towards the back end was very, very calm. It's a maturity thing, I think, and it does come with experience a lot of the time. Andy Carroll, I thought, was going very well on the brakes there, but I think just went a little bit too deep. Josh Martin's actually made up 2 positions since he started. We can actually have a look at Josh Martin, I believe, and See how he's getting on in the sim. There he is, no fancy dress today. But he's got the closest battle out there on circuit to contend with, which is Andy Carroll chasing him down, and then Paul Laramie.
Yes, he has indeed then. So through the right-hander he goes, and Josh Martin, there we go. Smile for the camera. Josh, great to see that he's concentrating on defending from Andy Carroll. But you know what? At least Josh Martin's finding a way of having fun, because it's not been a particularly fun season at times for one of, I think, our favourite drivers. Let's be honest, Josh has always been really accommodating. He's always a good sport. And we know he's a talented driver, particularly in touring cars. Remember, he was a champion a couple of seasons ago in touring car competition here at the VRRC, but for whatever reason, maybe it's racing with the BMW, maybe it's just the physics of these cars, but he's been on the struggle bus a little bit this season, but he is up in 7th place at the moment, and actually the second best of the BMWs right now after Jack Smith's dramas. Jack, by the way, 13th place, but he is, I think, about to gain a place, isn't he? He's not that far away from the car ahead of him. There you can see that's Chris Blakey, I think, isn't it, that he's catching? So, you know, 12th place, he will guarantee that he'll score some points wherever he finishes, but he needs to really try and gain a few more places than this.
He does indeed. You can actually see a really nice apex there, and how Chris Blakey ran too wide, a little bit too hot. It's so easy to go hot through that corner, but the exit, like you said on our little track guide, is so much more important, Andy, isn't it? And that's exactly what Jack Smith is showing here. He's on the hybrid, and he's straight through and getting it very nicely done. Now, it says actually on my screen, it's a driver called George Harker. Now, I'm not entirely sure if that's a glitch or whether there's a Chris Blakey replacement in play for us today. But, yeah, George Harker, here he is. Not entirely sure who he is. We don't have any kind of Zoom contact with him or anything like that, so we can't pick him up. But, yeah, a different driver in George's car.
Yes, there we go. I believe he is subbing for Chris Blakey, who is on holiday, Rich Hayden tells us. So there we go. And that did catch me out slightly on the slightly grainy feed that I've got. And put 2 and 2 together and came up with 7, which, again, does not put much confidence in my mathematics, does it? Right, let's ignore the maths and focus instead on what looks like being a very tasty battle for the race lead, because Nicky Taylor has started now to turn the screws again. He's closing in on Joel Lask. And this, I think, has fireworks written all over it. Both drivers know the importance of a race win here, and Nicky Taylor, at this stage of the race, Jack, is carrying some good momentum. Yeah, he is. You can start the concentration look in his eyes, can't you? Whereas before, he was looking a little bit more relaxed. I feel like those shoulders are tensed up a little bit. He's hardly blinking at all. In fact, I was expecting him to blink down the main straight. I don't think I've seen him do it yet. You won't be able to see with a slightly pixelated view, but he's actually going for the race lead move here on Joel at last. Joel going defensive, Nicky on the outside. They both were on the hybrid. What can they do? Can he get that cutback? He's wrenching that car all the way around, trying to get the maximum amount of steering lock on it to get a nice early power. Joel Lask fending him off for the time being. 7 minutes left to go, and Nicky Taylor has got his eyes on a particular prize here, Andy, isn't it? And it's the big one. Indeed, so he's already got the fastest lap. That's worth 3 bonus points. So even where he sits, he's scoring 25 points. That's exactly what you get for winning a race. But of course, an extra 3 points could go his way if he gets through. And I reckon, as it stands, he's only about 7 points behind Jack Smith in the championship. Obviously, Jack is on course right now for this to become a dropped score. So the calculations get a bit complicated. But Nicky really, genuinely is knocking on the door of challenging for the championship here. Into the final few corners he goes. You can see the grit and determination on his face. There's a snatch of a break there from Joel Lask. We've got 6.25 minutes to go, and Joel Lask feeling the heat. Out onto the pit straight they go. Will either of them choose to go for the hybrid then, I wonder? They're both pretty even on their hybrid use. 1 fewer available for Nicky Taylor than there is for Joel Lask. But Nicky knows that if he can get that trap position, that could be enough.
Yeah, I think going down the start-finish straight is not the position you really want to be using the hybrid, because the first corner is not an overtaking opportunity, and it's such a momentum corner. You don't want to have to slow yourself down too much or run too wide. It's all about the corner 2 and corner 3, isn't it? Or even corner 4, actually, I think this might be. Going down towards it now, I think Joel Lask has used the hybrid. Nicky Taylor has just saved it, actually, which means they are now even on 5 hybrids left each. You can see the gap that means that he managed to pull, though. Josh Martin's just lost a position to Andy Dorman. But I tell you what, going down into the braking zone, this could change. And Josh Martin's actually with a big grin on his face, jumping up and down in his seat.
That's good to see, isn't it? Josh Martin enjoying himself thoroughly at this final round of the championship. Look how late Dorman was on the brakes, though. Almost sailed around the outside of Paul Laramie, but didn't quite manage to make that stick. So Laramie hangs on to 7th, Dorman 8th, and Josh Martin still grinning away. I don't know what that said. I'm quite glad,
Best
I think. There we go. And that's one of the best moves of the race. He's very late on the brakes into the Mercedes arena. Okay, I'll take that back. He outbraked himself rather. Over the curve he goes, and Dorman goes back through.
Yeah, I mean, at least he's giving the fans what they want, a little bit of interaction, but I'm sure they probably want him to move forward as well. Well, if you're going to only scrap over 8th place, you might as well make it entertaining, mightn't you, from Josh Martin's point of view. Great stuff from him. With less than 5 minutes left to go, though, I think we're going to have to leave Josh Martin to the Battle of the Andes and focus a little bit further forward again, Andy here, because the third Andy that I have to speak to today. It all gets very confusing, doesn't it? But Nicky Taylor, I think, is just about starting to think about one last push.
Yes, I think he is, isn't he? Through turn number 2 he comes, and well, a good exit from here could give him an opportunity, but predictably they both jump onto the hybrid. Now watch that delta. Is it coming down or is it going up? It's sort of staying the same, as you would expect, because they were both on the hybrid. Taylor does have the slipstream, of course, which should assist him slightly more, but then there will be a slight weight discrepancy between the two as well, so that kind of evens things out, I reckon. Joel Last cannot afford to put a single foot wrong here, because Joel, it's worth mentioning, would be scoring at the moment exactly the same amount of points as Nicky Taylor. They came into the round on exactly the same number of points. So as intense as this is for Nicky Taylor and as determined as he is to try and take the race victory, it matters just as much for Joel in the championship race.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame we don't have the visuals on Joel in his sim, actually, because it'd be quite interesting to see what his expression is like. We've never been able to hook him up to the Zoom call and get him to show his face on stream, but you never know, maybe in the next championship. But coming down to the wire here at Hockenheim, I was always hoping to get the live reactions of all the drivers involved. But Nicky Taylor, I can tell you, is looking very determined. Since we last saw him, I don't think he's blinked. I've been having a look at him on the Zoom. Didn't want to bring him up on screen just yet until the last couple of laps potentially. But we're about to come down to that sort of stage, aren't we, Andy? Because with 0.3 of a second and just under 3 minutes to go, 1 minute 43 lap, this could be the penultimate lap of the race.
I think you're absolutely spot on. It is going to be the penultimate lap. These two comfortably quicker than anyone else right now. The only drivers capable of lapping in the 142s at this stage of the race, but they're absolutely inseparable. The gap at this point on the lap ago was about 0.43 of a second, although it came down dramatically there as Nicky Taylor really braked late, but I think braked a bit too late, sacrificed his exit speed, and that means that Joel Last manages to stay ahead. Now, I think there is still one more hybrid available. No, they might be on the same number of hybrids.
They're on 3 each.
Actually. They're on 3 each, right. So as long as Last doesn't make a mistake, he's got a hybrid to use every time that Nicky Taylor does. So he can defend that hybrid. We've seen that when they're both on the hybrid button, there's no difference at all in top speed between the two of them. So barring a mistake from Joel or a lunge from Nicky, this should be Joel's race to lose. Although here we go, Nicky goes on the hybrid when Joel doesn't. This is the moment. Tries to get to the inside. Last closes the door absolutely legally as well. And Nicky had nowhere to go. Tries to get the switch back now through the Mercedes arena. But that was always what it was going to take, Jack. Nicky had to get on that hybrid button when the leader didn't, and it just didn't work.
Yeah, I think you could argue that he's potentially wasted him. He's still got a decent run, hasn't he, out of a couple of corners here. And although Joel Lask has that get out of jail free button now, he has 1 left in the barrel in case he needs it. Carl Phelps is down to 2. He's not catching these guys. Jordan Taylor's on 3, but he's so far behind, he's not going to be worth it. In fact, he'll probably just use it to fend off Elliot Dalton-Ayres, who only has 1 left. Oliver Gibson has 4, but he's pretty much in no man's land as Andy Dorman and Paul Laramie are scrapping over 7th place. This is the battle that we're wanting to be focusing on. Jack Smith, he'll have a fantastic reverse grid opportunity. He's in 11th place at the moment, which means he'll be starting on the front 2 rows as it stands. But Nicky Taylor wants to haul the most amount of points as humanly possible away from this one. I think, Andy, you said that he's still on for the fastest lap, and he's on for the race win still.
Yeah, I think so. Final lap then. Let's see what's going to happen. Into turn 2, Lask defended. That compromises his exit speed. This could do it for Nicky. You know, he's had a much better exit from turn 2. But again, they're both on that hybrid, and we know that Joel should still have one left after this. And that could be enough for him to defend from Nicky Taylor, who is more than close enough, though, to think about a lunge. The slipstream takes effect. Lask defends the inside line. And Nicky Taylor has only one option. That's to try and go the long way around the hairpin, or maybe concentrate on the switchback. Wait for that hybrid button to go orange. I'm sure he's going to use it. Yes, he does. But Joel Lask tries to use it as well. They're absolutely together as they head up towards the Mercedes arena. Both of them using their hybrid button. And Nicky Taylor is almost level. He's got the inside for the right-hander. That's the outside for the left. There's a bit of a squeeze from Joel. There's a bit of contact. Taylor's on the curb. He's sideways. He's furious. But ultimately, he's still in second.
Yeah, I know he's furious. I don't think that's as bad as it potentially looked. It was a little bit too much of a squeeze, maybe half a foot too much. But Joel Lask, I don't think it was that bad, Andy. But we'll wait for the stewards to decide. They're going to have a few things to look over the course of this race. He's giving it a flash of the lights. He clearly thinks that's pretty much the race done. The checkered flag is going to drop. But you have to say, Joel Lask has driven pretty damn well.
Yes, he has. Into the final couple of corners. Is there another lunge coming from Nicky? He's so good on their brakes. Almost gets within touching distance of Joel Lask, but it is not going to happen. Out of the final corner comes Joel Lask, who claims victory here in race number 1 of the night at Hockenheim. Nicky Taylor threw everything at that, but ultimately has to settle for second, whilst Kyle Felvers bags some useful points in third position. Is that going to be enough, though, to keep him in the championship conversation? Meanwhile, whilst that was all going on, Jack Smith, our championship leader, has been steadily gaining places, and with every place gained, he gains a point as well. So for 9th position, 12 points now going his way, and that, I reckon, on live as it stands points, puts him about 10 ahead of Nicky Taylor, assuming this doesn't become a drop score and things all get very complicated. So at the moment, Jack Smith still doing enough, and he will now be starting from toward the front of the grid for race number 2, and that could just save him. But, well, we've had a season's worth of drama already, and still one more race remains. Can Jack Smith wrap up the title? Well, we'll find out in a few minutes' time. Before that, though, we'll hear from our podium sitters, podium sitters, just on the other side of this quick break.
Like, track cuts are big, and then I kind of...
Welcome back, everyone, to the VRRC, where our opening race of the night has provided quite a lot of drama, and we are absolutely here for it. It has certainly tightened the championship up quite nicely. Terrible race for Jack Smith, our championship leader. But some of his big championship rivals scored heavily, and 3 of them join us now in the commentary box, and we'll begin our post-race interviews with our race winner, Joel Lask, who somehow, Joel, managed to hang on there towards the end. Nicky was really coming back at you through the second half of the race, but you had a small advantage on the hybrids in those final couple of laps, and that really seemed to be the thing that made the difference.
I think that was probably the only thing that kept me ahead, to be fair. He was all over me the whole race. I know I pulled a small gap sort of middle of the race, but yeah, he came back at me as my tyres went off. So yeah, fair play to him. It was a cracking race.
It was a great race and an important race as well for your championship. Obviously, you and Nicky came into tonight tied on points and at the very least fighting for second in the championship. But with Jack Smith now having a spin and finishing down in 9th place, you two are right back in the championship conversation as well. So extra pressure there on your shoulders to stay in front.
Yeah, I mean, let's see how the reverse race goes. The past couple of reverse races I've done haven't been too good, so I'm going to try and stay out of trouble on this one and just try and get some consecutive laps in, see if I can just pick people off one by one. But yeah, you know how they go. We'll see.
I made a comment during the race that I don't think you're the kind of driver who, in the middle of a race, would sit there calculating the points and thinking too deeply about the championship situation. But is it on your mind at all in a situation like that? And now going into race 2 where you're starting at the back, but a good result could still win you the title?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm looking at who's around me and who I need to beat. But I mean, I can't be calculating points. I mean, to be honest, it was sort of an outside shot from the get-go. So you know, I'll be happy with wherever I finish. I'm just looking for the good racing and the good battles and things like that. So we'll see.
Well, you certainly have plenty of that in that particular race. But congrats on the victory, Joel, and best of luck for race 2.
Cheers, appreciate it.
So Joel Ask then, a race winner once
Yes,
again.
Nikki,
Second place was Nicky Taylor. It's the second time
You
we've had a
gave it
chance to chat to him
absolutely
tonight.
everything, didn't you, to try and get that top step?
Turn of
First,
Jack
I'm
Oliphant
pleased to say that you got the 3
driver.
points for fastest lap, which means you actually came away with the same amount of points as taking a race victory without the fastest lap. So, I mean, there's every cloud and all that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the race started off a bit poo for me, to be fair, because I kind of within the first 2 laps I got 2 cuts on the second lap alone, so I then was being really tentative, which I think then is why Joel pulled a gap initially, and then yeah, I saved my push to pass, so I had 2 on the last lap, and then from my eyes, I just got driven straight.
Well, I was going to say, it's obviously the stewards get a lot
but,
more opportunities to look at every single angle rather than what we saw on the broadcast and what you saw in the car as well. But from our point of view, it did look like a pretty epic couple of battles. You used hybrids to try and sort of in the not optimum location, but were you trying to sort of maybe give Joel something to think about in certain places of the track we thought he was safe?
Yeah, I mean, at the start, like I was trying to assess where Joel was using his push passes and where I could see where he was, and I noticed very early on that in the second corner he was using it pretty much the minute he got off the brakes and just using it then, so he'd get a great run off the corner. Whereas at the start of the race, I think I was using it like once I started getting onto the main straight, well, if you can call that bit of straight. Main straight bit of that, and then I kind of started using them in the same place and the gap stayed the same, and then I was trying to use them at different places to gain, and yeah, once I got my head around and how to drive with like the 2 cuts and just basically, because it's last round, just go, nah, screw it, I'm risk it all. I eventually started gaining, and then closed in, and then yeah, it was a good battle though, to be fair. Like Joel is clean, and he has been clean throughout this championship so far. So it was a nice battle. But in all honesty, for me to even have a chance or a slim chance, I think I've still got to somehow manage to win this one with fastest lap, which is a long shot. But given my pace, I'll give it my best and see how we go through. But as we know currently, Kyle is the reverse grid king, I think, with coming through in every reverse grid to basically a podium. So yeah, that's going to be hard to go through. But if I can just get past.
Well, I'm going to be very much looking forward to seeing how you do go about it. Nikki, it's been fantastic to watch you in this race and this championship. If we don't get to speak to you again, very well done on giving us some great entertainment, and you're probably going to be walking away with a prize regardless, as long as you don't DNF this race, Nikki. So big congratulations on that, and hopefully, you never know, we'll be speaking to you a little later on. Fantastic, Nikki. Thanks very much. Andy, I believe you got 3rd place, man. I already mentioned in that interview there.
I do hope so.
Carl
I don't mind
Felder,
any of the top 3, so yeah, but thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. Carl, good to have a chat with you as always. Welcome back to the podium. And well, in a way, not a lot to talk about in that race. You had probably one of the quieter races of your season, it looked like.
Yeah, I mean, there was no one really around me, so it was just a case of driving clean laps, consistent laps, and keeping my place. I think I got 2 track cuts quite early on, and then I managed to get a 3rd one, which wasn't too happy about. So I was just trying to stay on the track, like you meant to, and not get those track cuts and not get a penalty. So.
Which thankfully you managed to do, but 3rd place, solid points, not really as many as you would have liked, but we just saw in that last race what can happen. Jack Smith getting spun out, dropping down the order. So are you still thinking about the title, or just going out there trying to win the race and see what happens?
I mean, I think the title's sort of out of reach now. I think 2nd place definitely achievable, but the title, I think it will take a miracle for any one of us 3, me, Nicky, Joel, to get that. So I think Jack secured it, but yeah, we'll try our best.
Well, I don't know. You know, my math says that it might not be over yet, but we'll wait and see. Best of luck for that 2nd race of the night, though, Kyle. Not as many cars on the grid this time either, so I'm expecting a good charge towards the front from you.
Thanks, Andy.
So Kyle Felvers, 3rd place in that race. Who knows? Maybe he'll be victorious once again in a reversed grid race for race number 2. Well, it's times like these, Jack, where I wish I'd been paying attention in my GCSE maths lessons, because I genuinely believe that this is still quite close. As it stands with live points, before we start thinking about whether tonight becomes a drop score for anyone, I have Joel Lask and Nicky Taylor 10 points adrift of Jack Smith. Now, he basically, if he's on the podium in this race, Jack Smith, and there's a very good chance that will happen because he's starting relatively close to the front, then this won't become a drop score race for him, and then it's simply down to what points the others can score. They do still have to beat him in this race, but as I just mentioned to Kyle, a smaller grid than we're used to, and Jack hasn't been the fastest driver on that grid, so I really do think this is still all to play for, and I think that the likes of Nicky and Kyle and Joel, they need to race like it's still all to play for. If they let their head drop and think that Jack's got this wrapped up already, that will do them no good at all.
Yeah, but again, we were talking about the mentality and whether or not certain drivers race with their heart on their sleeves and everything like that, and potentially sort of reining themselves back a little bit from that emotion might be the best opportunity for them to score the most amount of points. It's one of those interesting things about their sports psychology. But it's all going to be wrapped up in about 20 minutes' time. Andy, take it away.
Here we go then. Alok Iyengar and Nelson Abraham on the front row of the grid. The red lights are off, and our final race of the season, race 16, gets underway with a predictably good start from the BMW on pole position. It will be Iyengar who leads the way, with in 2nd place Abraham. Look for the championship leader there. Jack Smith in amongst it all already, boxed in behind Paul Laramie with Josh Martin. I think that is coming to the outside. He's got Andy Carroll in front as well, and immediately I'm sure Jack is getting flashbacks to race number 1 where it all went wrong. 3 wide behind, and they all emerge the other side. I think they just about do, actually, but crucial here in the early stages for some of those at the back of the grid to make progress and put the pressure on the blue and black BMW.
Yeah, and look at this. It's George Harker going toe-to-toe with Andy Carroll and a charging Paul Laramie interested in getting involved as well. They're going to go 3 wide into the braking zone. Harker really late on the brakes. That's far too late, surely. Yeah, he goes straight on. Andy Carroll and Paul Laramie too late. Josh Martin gets picked up, but through goes Jack Smith and into 3rd place already.
Oh, a moment where it could have all gone wrong, and it actually all went right for the championship leader. For once, he'll be thinking. Through into 3rd place he goes. It's side by side for the lead as well. In fact, it no longer is. Nelson Abraham has gone through, but he outbrakes himself into Mercedes Arena. Paul Laramie up the curb, up the inside of Jack Smith. That nearly ended in tears, and Josh Martin goes around, and so does Oliver Gibson. So does Oliver Gibson, and that was the teammate to Jack Smith going around. Significant on 2 counts, because Oliver was still a championship threat, but he's also potentially an ally for Jack Smith if it came down to it, and he is now out of the equation.
Yeah, Kyle Felvers going next door to that Laramie as well, and Laramie really is well, putting himself about a bit in his early stages. You don't want to be going side by side through the 3rd sector here. Hockenheim as Jack Smith is getting all too close to Alok Iyengar as well, and it's getting far too close for comfort here in sector 3. Andy Carl Felvers has managed to just about survive, but here goes Jack Smith into 2nd place, but a charging Andy Carroll looks interested around the outside. Alok Iyengar, don't do that round the outside of turn 2. Carl Felvers, can he just about survive this? It's so close.
Oh, and Carl Felvis can see Jack Smith. He knows he's got pace, and he's trying to break through the defences now of Andy Carroll. Irongar going backwards, rather, but Kyle Felvis going forwards. There is the youngster then, heading out onto the back part of the circuit. He's got Elliot Dalton-Ayres behind him. He's got Andy Carroll ahead, and Carroll has already used his hybrid. His cooling off period just ended. Remember, 10 seconds, the first 10 seconds after you use the hybrid, you're not allowed to reuse it, and that puts him under some threat here from Kyle. I don't think ultimately Kyle's going to get through here. Sort of finds a gap in the middle. Paul Laramie comes in like a steam train from behind, gets into the side of Elliot Dalton-Ayres. Jordan Taylor knocked out wide as well. And I thought for a moment that was going to benefit Nicky Taylor, but actually Nicky hasn't made the progress I expected.
No, he hasn't. Just showing the reaction of Jordan Taylor there, though. He's not very happy. Remember, it's almost like a bit of a flashback to a week ago, though, when everybody got rear-ended by Jordan around Donington Park in the final corner of race 2. A few people will probably be thinking, yeah, that's sort of how it feels. But Paul Laramie has had a little bit of a history in this race alone. We've only had 3 minutes of it. He's missed his braking zone twice into that corner. I think there's going to be some stuff that'll be looked at.
Yeah, not making many friends, is he? But hey, it's the last day of school. You don't really care about that, do you? You just want to try and get a good result if you can. It always interests me, though. Certain drivers will race against people fighting for a championship a bit differently at this stage of the year. And some drivers, like Paul Laramie, quite clearly don't. So I kind of like that, really, because if you start rolling over for them, then it sort of decides things anyway, doesn't it? Anyway, Carl Felvis, 4th place, wants to turn that into 3rd place here, and he wants to do it, ideally, before Jack Smith gets the lead, because remember, he hasn't yet got the lead. Nelson Abranosa, who's never won with the VRRC, in fact, he's coming to the end of his first ever season, only a half season at that with us, is still leading the way. Carl Felvis is up the inside of Andy Carroll, who's definitely done more than half a season of racing with us here at the VRRC, and he does now move up into 3rd place. But yeah, Jack Smith struggling actually to catch particularly rapidly the race leader. Yeah,
he's a 7/10 of the gap, isn't it? And if we're talking about hybrids, they're all pretty much on the same. Elliot Dalton-Ayres has used the most. He's on 9, but everybody else is on 10 or 11. So Elliot's only used 1 more than everybody else, pretty much. So it's going to be very, very equal as we go down towards... Oh, Andy Carroll, is that late on the brakes? That's very late on the brakes, Andy. What's happening here? Carl Felvis sees it just about in his rearview mirrors and manages to just about miss the apex and let Andy Carroll do whatever he wanted to do, which is at the moment actually overtake Carl Felvis. He's going to be on the inside. No, he's not, just about surviving it.
Well, but only because Carl used the hybrid, exiting the hairpin. That's an extra hybrid usage that Carl wouldn't have wanted to have to do. So that could come back to bite him a little bit later in the race. We'll wait and see. Jack Smith, meanwhile, had caught Abranosa at the hairpin, but then didn't manage to get past him. And Nelson's actually gapping him again now through the middle sector. So Felvis into 3rd. 1.3 seconds behind Jack Smith, and he needs to try and eradicate that deficit as quickly as he possibly can and get ahead of Jack, and then just hope maybe that others come through as well. You caught a glimpse there of Nicky Taylor. He's up to 6th position now, just behind Elliot Dalton-Ayres, but this is the battle for the race lead. Jack Smith on the boot lid now, the Hyundai driver out in front, needs to make the move quickly, but Jack, more than anything, needs to make it cleanly.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to go through the first corner behind Nelson, because that's the biggest opportunity for Kyle really to close up. He's got no one in front of him to hold him up. Here goes Jack Smith now. He needs to get the move done, and I think he will, but how much time has that hurt him just going through turn 1 behind Nelson and having to overtake, because Nelson's not making this easy, and nor should he, to be fair. He gets a little bit wide, and it's, well, he just completely cuts the corner as well, and that allows him actually to put a little bit of pressure on. Now, I don't think he's going to be able to actually re-overtake Jack Smith, but again, Carl Felvis is caught up by the tune of about a second.
Yeah, he's taken about a second since I mentioned what the gap was, so he might even have a go here at Nelson into the hairpin. Only 2/10 between the two Hyundais. It's Jack Smith the leader now. Abranosa late on the brakes in second, a bit too late, misses the apex, and that might give Felvis a chance. Yes, he has. Felvis nips straight through on the inside. Nelson on the hybrid, but he's on the outside line, heading into the entrance to the Mercedes arena. Felvis doesn't want to use the hybrid, but he doesn't want to waste time either, battling with Nelson, who does manage to hang on and then goes for the race lead on the inside of Jack Smith. There's contact. Felvis into the back of him, and around goes Abranosa through. Went Elliot Dalton-Ayres as well, and that was a bit of frustration, I think, maybe from Carl Felvis. He's behind Nicky Taylor. Andy Carroll's up the inside as well. That was a really, really unfortunate moment.
Yeah, I was actually watching Kyle on the Zoom and banging his steering wheel and probably letting off some expletives as well, really, and I don't really blame him, to be honest. I'm not entirely sure Nelson's use of the hybrid there was particularly wise. I don't think many people would have anticipated him trying to go around the outside of that part of the circuit either. But you know what? You've got to drive what's around you. It's not on Nelson to get out of everybody's way at the end of the day. But, you know, it's hard when you come up against people you don't normally race against. And people who are obviously very keen to make an impression at the front end of the field. So, yeah, bit of a shame for Kyle, that one. He's potentially seen the championship opportunity fade away. But to be honest, they're all seeing that opportunity fade away because the race leader is Jack Smith. And who's going to put money on him being caught and overtaken in the next 12 minutes? He's not the fastest around here at Hockenheim, but he's just such a good driver. It's so difficult, even if you can catch him up.
And he doesn't need to win this race. That's the thing. A podium will do it. So he can afford to let a couple of them through in a way, and it wouldn't be a complete disaster. Of course, the danger then is that he lets them through and they sort of back him up into the rest of the pack. But right now, the rest of the pack are squabbling amongst themselves. Andy Carroll and Jordan Taylor nip up the inside of Carl Phelps, who very calmly retakes the positions on the exit of the turn and manages to get back through into 4th place. But Carl Phelps' race really unraveling now as he gets stuck battling with people that he doesn't want to be. You can see the look of resignation almost now on his face as he begins to realise that this one's over, and Carroll has a nibble at him heading into the Mercedes arena. But Kyle just manages to hang on at the front. Meanwhile, Jack Smith managing to escape a little bit now. He's 3/4 of a second to the good over Elliot Dalton-Ayres, who doesn't have the pace, but the man behind him we know does. Nicky Taylor, second in the previous race, fired up, nothing to lose, and he's going to waste no time, I'm sure, in putting the pressure on and trying to move into 2nd place.
Yeah, he's looking like a determined soul, doesn't he, Nicky Taylor? Maybe using a bit of that... well, he felt a bit aggrieved, didn't he, after the end of the first race? Maybe focusing that a little bit. I've just realised his microphone is glowing red. It looks a bit like E.T.'s end of his finger or something, doesn't it? It's a bit of an odd thing, that. But, yeah, he's looking very motivated. He's looking very focused. And going through the first corner, I think he's got a pretty decent run as well on Elliot.
I think that's just the red mist emanating from Nicky's head as he realises what's at stake here. Up the inside, he goes into turn 2, and that was a lovely move. And he didn't waste time with it, he says, as he wastes a bit of time running side by side through turns 2 and 3. Oh, well, forget that. Elliot Dalton-Ayres actually gets his nose back ahead, so Taylor is going to have to fight this. Had better momentum, though, off through the parabolica, and he's got that inside line for the hairpin. He also has more hybrids than Elliot Dalton-Ayres. Last time I checked, Nicky and Jack Smith both on the same number of hybrids remaining, so that's beneficial for those two. But Dalton-Ayres supremely late on the brakes of the hairpin, and he might just fend Nicky off. It's drama behind.
There is drama behind, and we have a very, very annoyed Kyle Phelps, who I will take off just in case anybody wants to lip read what he's saying, particularly his parents. But yes, he's not very happy. He is now facing in the right direction, so he's going to have to switch back on. But Jordan Taylor, Andy Carroll's having a nibble now. He's getting bitten by everyone, and Andy Carroll, I think, I don't want to say anything about the incident that was before at the hairpin, because we didn't see a good view of it. But Andy Carroll, Carl Phelps was both involved in that, and I think Jordan Taylor was as well. Jordan Taylor's ended up getting through. I don't know who caused it, don't know anything like that. But Carl Phelps, he's certainly getting an awful lot of nibbles at the back end now, isn't he?
Yeah, he has got a feel for Carl, really, because he had a bit of a frustrating first race, you sense, having to drive within himself because of the track cuts that he had. And, well, frustrating doesn't begin to cover what's happened to him in race number 2. He'll keep on plugging on, I'm sure, but realistically now, less than half the race to go. 5th place, not good enough for him. Right, through come the race leaders. Taylor has now managed to get past Elliot Dalton-Ayres and is setting off after the race leader on that particular lap. Nicky Taylor did a 1:43.2, so did the race leader. But of course, Nicky's now in clean air and might just be able to set off after him. But even if Nicky wins the race, I don't think that's going to be enough for the championship. He needs Jack Smith to fall off that podium.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I do apologise if anybody Nicky Taylor fans out there when we missed the overtake because we were focusing on the contact from before behind them. I think the overtake happened whilst we were focusing on Kyle and his little mishap with the other drivers. But it does look like he's in 2nd place. But you're right, Jack Smith needs to have a nightmare for anybody else to have an opportunity here. And even if he does fall off the podium, that would be classified as a nightmare because look at the gap he has back to Jordan Taylor, who's down in 4th position. It's a good sort of 4 seconds, isn't it, Andy, right now? And that's probably not going to be lost right now unless he has a big spin on his own, which is unlikely because it's Jack Smith, or he gets punted round. And I doubt that'll happen either because a lot of these drivers will yeah, you could get into the... Nicky Taylor could turn Jack Smith round, but at the end he's just going to get a penalty for it, and he won't win the championship either way, so it's not worth it.
No, exactly. I'm sure they'll keep it clean, but Nicky's certainly not going to be bashful about throwing a move, is he? Interestingly, none of the championship contenders right now have the fastest lap. Andy Dorman has the fastest lap because they've all been that busy battling each other. They've not really got into the 42s yet. So there is Andy Dorman. 3 bonus points going his way, but that might be about to change because Nicky Taylor has been on a charge here, and yes, does a 42.9. No, still a couple of tenths off Dorman's time. So despite a purple final sector there, Nicky Taylor not claiming those bonus points, and he really could do with them. If he could win the race with the bonus points, then that's a minimum, really, of a sort of 6-point swing, isn't it, to Jack Smith? But can't quite net that fastest lap for the time being.
Joel Lask, our race 1 winner, of course, not moving anywhere, to be honest, Andy. Slightly surprising, is it not, to see him languishing down in 8th place. We're obviously focusing on the championship leaders and everything like that, but when it came to actual pace here today, Joel Lask is right up there, but he doesn't seem to be in race 2. I don't know if he's had some incidents, I don't know if he's had some poor luck, or whether he's got damage to his car, but either way, he's definitely not inside the top 5, and he's sort of struggling to get past Andy Carroll and is fighting with Oliver Gibson.
Yes, he is. Down towards the Mercedes arena they go then, and yeah, it looks as though Joel Lask, I don't know whether he's had a knock somewhere in the early stages of the race, but does seem to be struggling. Nicky Taylor isn't, though. This is a good lap being put together by the race 1 runner-up, a personal best in sector 1, and the lap time does matter because, like we said, he needs those points, personal best in sector 2 as well, so I'm sure he's not thinking about the fastest lap, he's simply thinking about catching the race leader, but in the process, he might net himself 3 extra championship points as well. He snatches the break into the hairpin. He is absolutely on the limit, Jack.
Yeah, this is the point where you love watching a driver who's this dialed in, using and executing every single inch of track out there. He's not doing track limits, he's perfectly on the apexes, he's nice and smooth, he's not getting on the power too early. Nicky Taylor is a man on a mission, and that lap that he's about to cross the line with a 1 minute 42.7, that is, wow, 4 tenths quicker than Jack Smith's fastest lap. And, well, the previous lap, also 4 tenths quicker. Jack Smith put his fastest lap in on that previous lap, and it's still not quick enough to extend the gap from Nicky Taylor. He's a man on a mission, and just look how he's placing the car. It's absolutely sensational to watch.
But frustratingly, that's still fractionally slower than Andy Dorman, so it's not a fastest lap for Nicky. This is a heck of a lap that Dorman's put in this race, isn't it? To go about half a tenth quicker than even that effort from Taylor, who might now be within striking range, thinks about it, doesn't commit to the move. That was sensible. He was just a touch too far back. He's clearly got the pace here. He's got 5 1/4 minutes to go. Again, a reminder, a race win for Taylor does not give him the championship unless Jack Smith drops a few more places, but Nicky needs to get the lead and then worry about the championship permutations. Looks to the inside, tries to force a mistake out of Jack Smith, but they don't come often, do they?
No, they do not, and it's amazing when you're catching a driver like this and you're so dialed in, you start achieving lap times that you didn't really think were possible before, to be honest. And I know he's slightly slower than Andy Dorman on the best lap, but Andy Dorman could have used 3 hybrids in that particular lap, whereas Nicky Taylor's having to obviously sort of use them sparingly because we're only in the last 5 minutes now. But it is amazing, and all of a sudden you go into practice or something, and the next time, and you think, how on earth did I get into that zone, that frame of mind to be able to? And it feels so easy. Like Nicky Taylor will be right now, he'll be driving round, and I'm not saying it's easy what he's doing, but to him right now, that dialed in, that focused, everything will feel so smooth. Everything will feel so, easy for him to just sort of never putting the power on too early or too late, never sort of turning too hard, one smooth movement, because all he's doing is focusing on the driver ahead, and it's that age-old saying, it's easier to catch than be caught, and right now Nicky Taylor's experiencing that.
New fastest lap, Andy Dorman. He's gone fastest again with a 42.5 now. So Andy Dorman absolutely flying. He's down in, where is he? 6th place. He's nowhere near the leaders, but he's pumping in some absolutely astonishing lap times. Now, what can Nicky Taylor do about the race lead into the hairpin? This time he's running out of time, running out of options, running out of hybrids as well. Slightly, he's used a few more now than Jack Smith, who again just manages to hang on into the hairpin. We ride on board with the 2nd place man, who wasn't very happy at finishing 2nd in the earlier race. He certainly won't be happy about finishing 2nd this time, although it should, Jack, net him 2nd in the championship. And we heard from Nicky, didn't we? He'd sort of resigned himself to being second at best at the end of the season. Maybe that's in the back of his mind as well. Not necessarily worth making a do-or-die move here against Jack Smith, because second place, I think, will give him the runners-up spot in the championship.
Yeah, I can't actually remember what the second place in the championship is. Can you imagine the fact we can't remember what second place is? No matter, even though every week we read it out thousands of times, and I cannot actually remember it. But I mean, all of the top 5 prizes in the VRRC, you want them. Whether it's the livery T-shirts or jackets that are 4th and 5th place, whether it's the Cammus direct drive wheels. I think it's the display, isn't it, that's second place, actually, thinking about it. Yeah. Any of the Mecha handbrake slash shifter, that's awesome. That's coming up in the next championship in the Porsche Cayman Cup. I can't wait for that sort of thing. And each and every championship, each and every 8 weeks, 10 weeks, we pull out these sort of amazing prizes that, you're right, any of the top 3, Nicky Taylor's absolutely bang on. You want to be winning any of them.
Bit of a mistake there from Jack Smith. It looked like he was a bit wide going through the second corner, but managed to get a good exit. But no, you're absolutely right. Nicky Taylor can be very, very satisfied, I think, if he can finish second in this championship. And should be very proud of himself, actually, because he's times maybe not sounded the happiest when we've spoken to him, but he's put in a heck of a season here, a heck of a campaign. And Jack Smith, we knew, was going to be tough to beat. He was been so dominant in the BMW over the last couple of seasons, and to come even close to him really is an achievement for Nicky. And there you can see the championship leader with his #1 fan sat alongside as always, and he is now only a lap and a half or so away from winning another race and winning another championship here at the VRRC. A brilliant performance this from Jack. Also, when you consider, Jack, that he's bounced back nicely from that first race when everything went wrong and he must have thought it just wasn't meant to be. But Jack has managed, in the true professional fashion that we have come to expect from him, to put that behind him and put in the performance that he needed in race 2.
Yeah, I think he got a bit of a motivational speech by that elephant, didn't he, sort of
Definitely.
thing. And you know what, maybe that's a little bit of a metaphor, because it's not the only thing that he's had to bump back from. Obviously, at the beginning of the year, we maybe had the BMW was potentially the strongest car on the grid, and it sort of got bopped a little bit, which doesn't normally happen in VRRC. But we brought the BMW back towards everybody else a little bit, and ever since then, obviously with the maximum amount of ballast he's had on board, has been a little bit of a struggle for him to get back onto the top step of the podium. He's obviously been on holiday there. He's made another mistake. You see a little bit of frustration in his eyes as he's sighing. He doesn't want to lose this race. It's quite impressive. But the elephant in the room is the fact that he's had to come over quite a lot of things here to win this championship. And I think Nicky Taylor is about to overtake him.
What was that all about? He left the door wide open for Nicky. Jack does have one extra hybrid over Nicky, but I don't really understand why he took that line. I thought for a second he was waving Nicky through just to take any risk out of the situation, but that's not what's happened. Nicky's up the inside, but Jack Smith does now use his final hybrid on the run towards the Mercedes arena, but Nicky Taylor will go for this if you let him get close enough to have a stab onto the brakes they're about to go. Does Taylor think about the inside line? No. In the end, they brake pretty much simultaneously. Jack Smith a little wide, though. Well, if he does hang on to win this race, that's the first thing I'll be asking him. I don't really understand what that was all about, but ultimately he manages to keep Nicky at bay, and there's now only a few corners to go. Limited on overtaking opportunities now through the final complex of corners, and Jack Smith surely knows that he's only moments away from sealing another VRRC championship. This one more hard fought perhaps than even he expected, particularly through the second half of the season. He missed the penultimate round of the championship as well, which gave everyone else maybe half a chance, but ultimately half a chance is all they were going to get, because it is Jack Smith who rounds out the championship with a race win. The championship win. Jack Smith victorious here at Hockenheim, whilst Nicky Taylor has to settle for second in the championship. Elliot Dalton-Ayres comes home in third, with Jordan Taylor fourth, and Carl Felvers completing the top 5, but it is Jack Smith on top, and Jack Oliphant deservedly so.
Yeah, look at that. He's already got the hat on. He knows who he's racing with, doesn't he? It's trying to get that plug in, and that's a lovely hat I think you can win. So, yeah, well done to Jack Smith. He's been absolutely superb. I'm sure he'll be looking for gloves to go with that as well. Everybody else is crossing the finish line now. Joel Last, maybe the driver, who and Oliver Gibson, we're surprised at him, those couple of drivers, to be so far down in race 2. But wow, well done to Jack Smith. It's been a hell of a championship, and we'll be speaking to him in a
So championship standings then wrap up, yeah. Cool. Welcome back, everyone, to the VRRC, where, provisionally at least, we have crowned a champion. And it's not the first time that this man has come out on top at the end of a season of racing with us. Jack Smith, victorious not only in the championship, but also in the final race of the season. And Jack, a fitting way to cap off the championship, but a rather stressful night, I think.
Yeah, no, that first race wasn't very good, was it? But yeah, no, that was a same way I topped it off last season as well, winning the last race, and against Nicky with the hybrids as well. It's like it's so weird, but yeah, no, it feels weird being interviewed again. To be honest, it's been a rough last few races, but yeah, we just didn't have pace throughout the second half of the season, and just tried to go as flat out as I could in this last race, and yeah, trying to manage my hybrids as well as I could. So I had 2 at the end and hoped Nicky had 1, and it was like a game of poker right at the end there. So yeah, I just had to play my cards right, and luckily I didn't make any mistakes. We nailed the track limits and didn't get any cuts. Well, I got 1 cut, but I was using every last bit of the track limits and just praying to God that I didn't get a track limit cut just to find the time. But yeah, it worked out well. We got the win. It's another one to the tally. So yeah, really happy, really happy.
They're getting harder to win, though, aren't they, these championships? Obviously, you didn't make life easy for yourself by having a slightly inconveniently timed holiday last week. By the way, I don't know whether you need better lighting in your room. I was expecting a better suntan, having missed the last round to go off travelling, but that did rather put the pressure on, didn't it, for tonight? But even before then, once the BMW had those balanced performance tweaks made mid-season, it hasn't been easy, has it, to win races and score those consistent points that you need?
Yeah, no, we lost. I say a fair. It feels like a fair bit of top end. You go up against push to pass with Nicky. I couldn't do anything. He just sort of went past me. He's got less ballast also as well. So yeah, we had to really compromise with setup. We had to make the rake as flat as we could just to minimize drag and all that sort of stuff. So we'll think about everything to try and get that top end back. But yeah, the car wasn't really as I wanted it to drive. It wasn't as pointy and stuff. So, but that's just what we had to do to keep the top end up. And yeah, we just had to work around it, and in some races it worked, some rounds it didn't, but yeah, we tried our best. But yeah, we'll I'm happy at the end to get the win in the second race. So bit of a hard to get one, like, but yeah, it's not too bad in the end. It was all right.
Can't make it easy for you, Jack.
Yeah. Stole the words right out of my mouth, Rich. Yeah, we don't want to make it too easy for Jack. Well, we're going to have you back for our next championship. That's my next question. I hope the answer is yes, because we're doing something a bit different now, aren't we? Going back to sort of rear-wheel drive GT cars. We're going to see you on the grid for that one.
You'll see me at Cayman's and you'll see me at Le Mans. So yeah, I'm very happy to be doing those. Le Mans, I love Le Mans. Throwing myself in a GT should be quite fun, trying to avoid all the LMP2 guys. And then Cayman's, I mean, yeah, that's going to be a mega championship, isn't it? So straight 6, Cayman's, rear-wheel drive. I mean, I feel like me and Ollie have got the upper hand practice-wise at the minute. I've been driving these things for the whole season. But yeah, we'll see how that one works out. But I'm looking forward to it, and should be good.
Excellent stuff, Jack. Well, thanks for having a chat. Congratulations on what's been a fantastic season-long campaign and your latest championship here at the VRRC. Well done from all of us.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. And well done on the stream tonight, guys, as well, and for the last few times as well. So it's been a really good stream. Been watching back after every single race. So yeah, that's what I do in the evenings after the races. So yeah. And then also well done to Ollie, because he's done really well this season. Where did he come in the end?
We believe he might have slipped down to 6th. Didn't have a great final night, did he? But yeah, he's been quick all season. Right.
All right, I see. Yeah. But yeah, no, he's been performing well all season, and we've been practicing together, and he's improved massively this season. He's been putting me up against it, so it's been really good. And yeah, thanks to all the guys that made it happen. DK Power, Sherman Rubber, Samford Motor Services, and Hop Cabin. Lee's watching. Well, I think he's watching later on. So yeah, hopefully this is a nice surprise for him.
Yeah, don't spoil it. Don't be sending him a winning speech via text or anything. Good stuff, Jack. Well done. Massive congratulations. And yeah, we'll see you at Le Mans.
Cool. Thank you very much.
So Jack Smith, our race winner, our championship winner, but Jack Oliphant chased hard all the way, not only in that race, But in the closing stages of the championship,
Yeah, Nicky,
my man who sort of wrote his
there's
championship
no-
hopes off at the start
I
of the
know
night,
you
but
won't
in
want
the
to hear
end came a bit closer maybe than
congratulations,
even
but
he
you put on a hell of a
expected.
show
Jack
tonight.
now gets the chance to catch
It
up
was
with Nicky Taylor.
close but no cigar. You said it was going to be difficult to win the championship. You gave it absolutely everything, though, and on that last race, you just couldn't quite get it past him, could you?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, in the last few championships, I haven't been in the top five, so it's just nice, in all honesty, to be back in the top five, back pushing Jack. But yeah, maybe yeah, I don't know. I that race was I gave it what I could. There was a few incidents I got caught up in at the start, but I couldn't really do much. Like with Josh spinning, I had to go right, and unfortunately tagged Ollie, but I had nowhere I could go, so went into him. And then something happened between Kyle and Nelson, I think, so that went a bit bad. But yeah, it's one of them. To come home second to a driver like Jack is no bad outcome. And yeah, to be honest, second in both races, pole, and I think fastest lap definitely in the first one, and then I think Joel got it right at the end in the last one. So yeah, it's nearly the night I needed, but even with the two, like the 3 extra points, whatever it is for a win, I still would
I
have.
was going to
been
say,
about
I mean, obviously
3 or
this is
4
all
Jack,
provisionary, provisional.
yeah,
Even provisionary is
it's
not
one
a
of
word,
them,
but
but
provisional.
it is good. I've got to take the positive
But
out of it.
you know,
That's
taking
it,
home a nice,
championship.
tasty display as well. Aegon display is not a bad second place prize, is it? As well as obviously the second place trophy. So yeah, as you said, there were plenty of positives.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, coming into tonight, I said it earlier on, and I'll say it again. I would be happy with top 3 in the championship. I'm happy I got second because I have a monitor from a previous championship that's currently sitting in my garage doing nothing currently because I don't really know where to put it. So now that with the other one, I should hopefully be able to get triples. So we should the setup's coming together gradually with all the prizes Richie's given out. Like my rig is basically fully prized from rig apart from my base and my wheel, but yeah, it's been fun and it's been tricky with the ride height and everything, but I got the hang of it at the end, and the car just literally felt on rails at Hockenheim, and I think if I had possibly got through the pack a bit or had my start a bit better, then being a bit more aggressive within the first 2 laps, I could have had Jack, but yeah, I knew it was going to be a push to fast fight at the end. Like I used mine, and then he used his on the next straight. I didn't know how many he had. I thought he might have had about 2 or 3 left, so I was a bit worried about that. But yeah, it's fun, and it's been a great championship. And Jack has driven phenomenally the whole championship, and so has Joel, Elliot, Khan, and Ollie, to be fair, and everyone else. I mean, coming into tonight with the point gap being like 2 points, it just goes to show how tight VRRC is, and it's becoming a hell of a lot harder to get good results and get consistently good in the championships. So yeah,
Well,
I
you
think
said that
me
plenty of
taking a
times
break
before,
from the main
Nicky, and
championship
you've always
next
turned
one
back up,
isn't
so
too bad,
forgive me if I don't
so
believe you. I'll
yeah, I
see you
should
in
be in
Porsches.
KOs, but I don't think
But
I'll be
also
doing
wanted to say a big thank you and congratulations for winning Driver of the Round as well today, because you gave us easily, you were on screen by far the most today. You gave us loads of stuff to shout about. Really enjoyed watching you. So you'll not only have the second place in the championship, but you also have the Driver of the Round.
Cheers. Yeah, and
Have
thank
you
you.
remembered you have actually signed up to the Porsche Club?
I know. I've signed up because I'm tentative of doing it, but I think I think the Clio's is going to suit me a bit more because I know I'm going to have more weight because of the experience ballast. But yeah, no, I'm just want to have a bit of fun, and I think I can't commit to doing
Well,
a
I
full.
hope hopefully we'll
championship
be able to
Porsche,
broadcast
so,
the
yeah,
Clios as well, Nicky.
I'll
Big
see how it
congrats
goes,
on the
but,
season, and
for the
you
time
never know,
being,
we'll
I
be
think
speaking to you potentially at
I'm
Le Mans.
sticking with Clios. not Le Mans, but yeah, definitely
No,
fair.
he's not signed up for Le Mans.
Well, we'll see.
Definitely
We'll
Theo's
see when
maybe
we see you,
Porsche,
Nicky.
So I'll give you a maybe for now, and then knowing me, it'll probably end up being a yes. But we'll see how
you
it
at
goes.
Porsche, Nicky. We'll see you in the Porsche, Nicky.
Okay. All right. We'll see how it goes. All right. See you later. See you when I see you.
Good stuff. Thank you, Nikki. And yeah, congrats on the second place in the championship. Right then, Elliot Daltonair's third place finish.
I do!
Go on, Rich.
I think we should get Nicky back for a bit more.
It's not like we've got anywhere to be tonight, and we do love hearing from our drivers at the end of the night. Elliot, quickly, the third place in the race. I'm not sure where you ended up in the championship. I think you've just missed out on a top 3 spot. It's been a tad frustrating, hasn't it, really, this season? The potential's been there. It's just not quite come together.
No, I've been a bit unlucky here and there, but I honestly think it's been quite good. I mean, the drivers are really good. I mean, Nicky's great, Jack's great, Joel's great, Kyle's great. It's just everyone's getting really quick now, so it's getting harder to get good results. But yeah, congrats to Ed because the gap that he had, I don't think it's come down, but yeah, overall I think it's been really good.
And of course, as we've been talking about, we do now move back to some rear-wheel drive GT style racing. We've seen you really excel at that in the past. So how confident are you that you can now bounce back and really show us the Elliot Daltonairs that we saw, for example, in the GTV3 Championship?
Yeah, I haven't driven a rear-wheel drive in ages, but I'm sure it'll come back to me with the Porsches and the LMP2. I think is rear-wheel drive, or it might be all-wheel drive. I don't know, but yeah, I think it's gonna be nice to be all in the same car, so everyone's equal at the same track. Because in these, sometimes a certain car is better at a specific track, but it's gonna be nice for all of us to be in the same car.
We haven't really had a chance to speak to you as often as we, and I'm sure you would have liked this season. So we haven't really had chance to mention the fact that you're racing now with Phoenix Sim Racing, and that's all been sort of a really important thing for you and for the whole team. So how's that all been going behind the scenes?
Really good. I mean, Reese and Stu are very nice and very helpful, and of course we've got Joel as well, who can be. I mean, is very, very helpful, very kind. But yeah, Phoenix has very kindly sponsored me throughout this championship and the past championship and the future ones as well. But I'm just really representing the brand just to get the name out there to help people with mental disabilities and just disabilities get into sim racing, as they might find it as a passion, and I think we're doing a really good job of that so far.
Yeah, absolutely. All for a great cause. And yeah, great to see that you continue to work with them and support them. And I'm sure they really appreciate it too. We appreciate you having a chat with us as well. And hopefully we'll get to talk to you plenty more when we go Porsche racing, and perhaps first at Le Mans. But Elliot, congrats on what's been a solid season for you.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Jack.
There we go. So Elliot Daltonairs does conclude our podium interviews there. I think that is all of our business attended to, apart from confirming provisionally that this is what the final championship standings look like. 244 points for Jack Smith in the DK Power Racing BMW, whilst Nicky Taylor came up just short, but only 12 points. It could so easily have swung back his way had Jack Smith run into some more drama in race 2, which he very nearly did on a number of occasions. Joel Lask, meanwhile, gets third after that really solid first race of the night, with Elliot Daltonairs, who we just spoke to, missing out on the top 3 by a single point in the end. Carl Felvers came home in 5th ahead of Oliver Gibson, Jordan Taylor, Andy Dorman, Andy Carroll and Josh Martin to complete the top 10 at the end of what has been, Jack Oliphant, a fantastic season. We've had some really good racing. I think these European
absolutely
racetracks
loved it.
really,
to be honest, always a
cars
fan of the touring cars, and Rich was saying to me earlier that he can't believe that it's
about you,
we're on season 5 of them. We've done 5
myself.
seasons of touring cars, and I'm sure it won't be too long before we see them pop up again, to be honest, even though I'm very much looking forward to the Porsches, because that's a fairly sort of mid-powered rear-wheel drive car. As you said, one make series again. The Clios offer something completely different. Yeah, it should be awesome. But of course, we've got that special LMPs and GTs around Le Mans to look forward to. So plenty of things to look forward to here at VRRC.
We have indeed. On the 18th of October, we go racing at Le Mans for our first real endurance race that will be broadcast. I'm really looking forward to that. And then on the 1st of November is when we'll kick things off with the Cayman Cup. So be sure not to miss it. We will see you all then. A big thanks to Jack, to Rich, and all of our drivers, families who have chipped in. We really do appreciate you all joining in with the YouTube chat as well. We'll look forward to keeping that up in future broadcasts as well. But for now, from the whole team here at the VRRC, thank you very much for your support.